Good morning. Today we're going to be talking about copyright. So, what does copyright mean? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. The creator of an item has the right to decide who is going to copy it. Let's say you have an idea in your brain. You can't copyright that, but the minute you express your idea and create something with it, you now have a copyright. It can be official or unofficial, but your original work is protected, and you get to decide if others can use it, and you get to decide how others can use it. It's not legal just to copy things and use them in your work, because what you're doing is taking someone else's intellectual property, their creation. So you need to check the license, and this applies to digital items or to print items, either one. So when something is created, the author has a choice to copyright the work or to share the work. If they choose copyright, oftentimes you will see a circle with a C in the middle of it, and that means that they are wanting people to ask them permission to use their work in most cases. So they're not wanting to share just with anybody. The second option is to share your creation. You will see that C with a line through it. That means that there's not a copyright on it. Or you might see the two C's in the middle. That means they have a Creative Commons license and you can share it under certain situations. But first, let's go back and talk about copyright work. Just because you do have a copyright does not mean that you have 100% protection for your creation. There are some exceptions to the rule. And one of those we call the fair use exception. It allows people to use copyrighted material under certain circumstances, and it does get pretty complicated. When our lawmakers began to make laws about copyright, they decided they really wanted people to be creative. But on the other hand, they really want to protect the work that people do create. And so they had to strike a balance. Because what if there's a situation where somebody is really inspired by another person's work and they want to add on to it or they want to change it and make it into something a little bit different? So they had to strike a balance. And that's why there is an exception. So, fair use might be something you will use in the future because it does apply to education. Not in all situations, but to some. And there are lots and lots of things that you need to consider along the way. Is the work you want to use are you using the work for criticism or comment? For example, a movie review. Let's say you take a 30-second clip from a movie and then you decide to tell people whether it's a great movie or a bad movie, what you liked or didn't like about it. That's going to be fair use. If a news reporter uses another creation, if a teacher uses it, or if a student is doing research and need to use it, that's probably the one that you're going to fall under. But even if you are using it for education or for one of these other purposes, it still may not be fair use. You have to make some more decisions about the work that you want to use. What's the purpose of this work? Are you adding a new purpose? Are you taking something that was factual and turning it into a parody, making it funny? Then you have given it a new purpose. Or are you transforming the original into something brand new? What's the nature of the material you want to use? Is it factual? If it's factual, it's more likely that you're going to be able to claim fair use than if it's something that was really creative. How about the amount of the material you want to use? If you could copy an entire song, it's probably not going to be fair use. But if you just use a tiny little bit of it, out there on the internet, you'll find all kinds of rules about you can't use more than 10%, you can't use more than 30 seconds of whatever. But in reality, the law does not state a number. And who gets to decide what it is? Well, it's going to come down to a judge. He's also going to look at the effect. Are you going to try to make money off of your new creation? Or is the original author trying to make money off of it? And now, because you took something from it and passed it on as yours, he no longer makes the money that he could have made. So, in the end, it's a judge that's going to decide all of this. Even if you think you have fair use, you may or may not. It gets pretty complicated. A judge is going to decide it on a case by case basis, and so everyone is looked at separately. So, it's a good idea to try not to use copyrighted material if at all possible. The other option is to look for work that people are okay with sharing. Some people want to share their work, but there's different ways and different levels of sharing their intellectual property. The first way is called the public domain, and the second way is called Creative Commons. The public domain. These are items that are free to use. You can do anything you want with them. Sometimes copyrights expire many years later, and they fall into public domain after that. You'll find images, books, music, US government documents, facts, history, news, all of those things are in the public domain. You don't have to give credit to the creator. However, if you know who the creator is, it's a nice thing to do. For our purposes for today, we're going to be focusing on images because there is so much information in the public domain and for sharing that I just want to kind of narrow it down for you guys a little bit. And so, where can you find public domain things to use? Well, online, a few years ago, people started to realize that there was a need. Instead of just copying things from the internet, what if we made a place and started to compile all the images and documents and stories and music that are in the public domain in one place so that students have a place to go to? The internet is kind of a mess. We all pass things around sometimes, but when we do that, we're not giving credit to the original creator. And so it's better to go to one of these particular websites where people have compiled public domain or Creative Commons works for you. So, two places you can find images that are public domain are Pixneo and Unsplash. I'm going to take you to those, or you're going to be going to those a little bit later. The second way is a Creative Commons license. There are quite a few licenses and ways to combine them here. The first one is a little man in a circle and it says attribution. Attribution is just a big word that means to give credit to. So you are free to use this work, whatever it is, a story, a video, an image, as long as you give credit to the original creator. The second way with the equal sign in the circle means no derivative works. No derivative just means no changes. You can borrow that image, that video, that song, whatever it is, as long as you don't make any changes to it. Share alike means if you do decide to change it, you have to share it with the same type of license that you found on it. And non commercial simply means you're not allowed to make money off of whatever it is that you're using. So you can have a combination of all of those on the left hand side over here. You'll see it says licenses, and now they have started to combine them buy and share alike, buy and non commercial, buy and no derivatives. So they've just kind of put some together. And I will show you a website a little later that where you can go and find these licenses and more information about them. You guys are going to be doing some work there today. And so, where can you go to find these kinds of images, the ones that have a sharing license? One place you can go is commons.wikimedia.org. Just for grins, I typed in puppies and I found one that I want to use. So I clicked on it. And after I click on it, I get all kinds of information about that particular photo. And one of the things I get is it says Creative Commons Attribution 3.0. That's the license that this person has uploaded this photo under. So you can use it as long as you give credit to the person who uploaded it. And if I click on more details and download, then I get a little box that pops up and it says attribution. And guess what? All I have to do is copy and paste and put that into my document where I'm sharing the photo. Another option is the Creative Commons. It's the same is Openverse, and it basically works the same. You pick your photo that you want to use. There are other things on this Openverse. There's music, there's photos, all kinds of things for you to use. But today we're going to concentrate on images just so we narrow it down a little bit. And this one is marked by, it says credit the creator. See the little man in the circle? And guess what? Also, this website gives you how the author wants to be credited. So that's another great reason why you can't just go use Google, because many of those images are copyrighted. They've just been passed around so many times, you've forgotten who the original creator is. But also, the advantage to using the websites I'm giving you is that the author has said exactly how they would like to be, um, how they would like credit for their work, and that makes it easier on you. So today, you're going to be going around to Creative Commons website and to some of the other websites that I've given you, and I would like for you to come up with a topic. As an example, I used puppies. I have 2 photos from a Creative Commons license, and I have 2 photos that were in the public domain. And although the public domain said I don't have to give attribution, its little box popped up and said, just say thanks to the person. It's not required, but it's a nice thing to do, and so I did. This is photo by Part Time Portraits on Unsplash. And this one over here, I also did the same thing. I found this one on Pixneo, but it said no attribution is needed. However, it's a nice thing to do. After that, guess what? You've created something new. So I want you to put a Creative Commons license on it. There is a little page on Creative Commons that will help you to pick a license. And then I want you to let me know why you chose that license. I chose this one. I chose to do the little man in the circle for buy. I want to have credit, and I also don't want people to make money off of my creation. So that is going to be your assignment for today when I let you guys go. But reminders to wrap up here, make sure you check the license of all the work you want to use. Do not assume it's public domain just because you don't see a license. Use a reputable website to gather your research information. And if it is copyrighted, you might still be able to use a portion of it for your research if you use it fairly and for good reasons. So there you have it. That's copyright.